UFC Baku just took place, and here is my full card recap. Now, of course, the first thing we're going to discuss are the bets. Heading into the main event, I was plus 1.63 units. You can tell that I'm making this video directly after the main event because I'm actually down 0.4 units because we had 2 units on Jamahal Hill to end the night. Everything was riding on the main event, and Jamahal Hill did not come through. As for our other bets, Muhammad Usman by decision, that was free money. I should have put more on that. Melissa Mullins inside the distance, never stood a chance. Alex Skiva inside the distance, never stood a chance. Blades and Jung Young Park, 2 most confident picks on the card. Throw them in a parlay. That was free money. I know it could have been a robbery for Kuniev, but we'll take the Blades win. Rafael Fiziev was free as a straight pick. And let's go over every fight individually. Start from the bottom up. First fight of the night was Muhammad Usman and Hamdi Abdelwahab. And if this fight does not convince you that Abdelwahab does not belong in the UFC, I don't know what fight will. Muhammad Usman managed to get a win again in the UFC. I'm shocked as well. Even though I predicted it to a T, I am shocked. Mo Usman is finally back in the win column. We also had Tagir Ulanbekov defeating Azat Maxim by a easy decision. He won 30-27 on a couple scorecards. I actually missed this fight. Maybe I should go back and rewatch it, but it kind of went exactly as how I predicted. Tagir Ulanbekov is just better at MMA than Azat Maxim. Sometimes 1 + 1 = 2. On to the next fight. Irina Alekseeva taking on Claudia Segula. Now, you would think that Alekseeva, being the Russian Ronda, would shoot for takedowns in this fight, but not really any takedowns whatsoever. And actually, when it got to the mat, Claudia Segula was the one that had the top position, had the dominant position. So I was very shocked by this outcome. I don't think anyone really was picking Claudia Segula or even betting Claudia Segula, because based on her last fight, she just got taken down in a minute and ragdolled and lost. So I thought Alekseeva would do the same thing, take her down, ragdoll her. That is not what happened. On to the next one. Melissa Mullins losing a decision to Daria Zalesnikova. Now, this was a rematch, and in the first fight, Daria was having success on the feet, but Melissa Mullins got the takedown, and that's what led to a stoppage. Now, you would think if you're Melissa Mullins, shoot takedowns always and often, but she did not. She decided to shoot takedowns with like 30 seconds left in each round, got the takedown, and since there's only 30 seconds left, she wasn't able to do anything with the takedowns. So another L for the kid. I also had a losing bet on this, like I said before. On to the next. Jung Young Park by decision. That was free. Ismail Nurdiev was doing everything in his power to get DQ'd in this fight. He had 3 different eye poke instances, and he also kneed Jung Young Park on the ground, which caused a 2-point deduction, which hasn't happened since Anthony Smith got kneed by John Jones in their championship fight. Regardless, Jung Young Park continued and won the 3rd round clean after being rocked by the illegal knee. So shout out to the Iron Turtle for that. Then we got Oban Elliott losing a clean 30-27 decision to Suk-Hyung Ko. Suk-Hyung Ko, Sambo world champion. I guess it makes sense. Oban Elliott, going into this fight, we kind of thought he had highlight reel power. He got a highlight KO over Oban Elliott. We also thought that Oban was a pretty good grappler, pretty good wrestler, but Ko seems to be the better one. And I think if Oban Elliott fought Ramiz Brahimaj when they were supposed to fight a couple weeks ago, I think Brahimaj would have won that fight as well. So shout out to Suk-Hyung Ko cashing as a plus 500 underdog, which I was not a part of. So Mohamed Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. This actually went a lot differently than I thought. I thought, Mohamed Naimov would land the KO blow. I thought at some point he would land something big that would wobble Bogdan, that would make him lead to a finish. But no, what happened was a lot of clinching against the cage, Naimov overpowering Bogdan in those positions and getting top control, which ultimately won him a clean decision. Not a lot to say about this fight. Also, the main card, decision fest, other than, I believe, 2 fights. A lot of snoozes, but let's keep going. Nazim Sadikov, I called a round 2 finish. I thought he would try to bring it to the ground and get a submission because Mata is pretty weak on the ground. And I was kind of correct because Mata nearly got a round 1 KO in this fight. But Sadikov overcame the round 1 onslaught and goes out there and finds the KO of his own in round 2. This is definitely a fight of the year contender that you should go rewatch. Nazim cashes as a minus 500 underdog. Minus 100 favorite, sorry, underdog, whoa. And then we got Miktabek Oralbai defeating Tofik Musayev, the biggest trap of the entire card. Tofik Musayev was making his UFC debut at 35 years old. I think that's never going to go well. I thought Oralbai was just going to win by wrestling domination, and he did, but he was also able to secure the finish in the first round with I believe, a Kimura from guard. So shout out to Miktabek Oralbai, proving that you can't just jump into the UFC from nothing. You have to go on the Contender Series. You have to go on Tough. You have to go on Road to the UFC. You have to do something that brings you into the UFC. I can't stand it with these cherry-picked opponents from outside organizations. And that goes right into the next fight. Rizvan Kuniev only had fought in the Contender Series, and they immediately jump him up to the number 5 ranked heavyweight, Curtis Blades. Now, in fairness, Kuniev, I believe, actually won this fight. Even though I picked Blades to win, even though I had Blades in a parlay, I actually think Rizvan won this fight. He won the second round clearly. Blades won the first round clearly. It just came down to how you judge the third round. And in the third round, I think Kuniev landed bigger shots. But Blades did land some control time, had some control time against the cage. But yeah, I'm not really sure how Blades won this. So shout out to Blades, cashing my parlay. Rizvan, he's going to be like in the Shamil Gaziev territory where he's going to beat everyone outside the top 5, maybe even top 10. But once he gets into those upper rankings, he's going to fall short. So Rizvan and Shamil Gaziev, welcome to the meme club. Shout out to you guys. Rafael Fiziev wins a clean decision against Ignacio Bahamondes, predicted this to a T. Fiziev even mixed in takedowns. Ignacio, what we're learning, is a BJJ nerd, which means if you get a takedown on him, yes, he's going to fish for subs, which you might think is good, but he's also content with just staying on his back for long, extended periods of time, which is not good for winning decisions. And Fiziev knew that. Fiziev got takedowns. Fiziev outlanded Ignacio, I believe. He was landing the bigger shots. Ignacio was throwing so many kicks. Fiziev was doing the Matrix backwards thing very often in this fight. So shout out to Fiziev. This was too big of a jump for Ignacio. Predicted this one to a T. And a fight that I did not predict to a T was Jamahal Hill versus Khalil Rountree. This was the biggest L for me of the night. Now, I said before that I only lost a half a unit on this card. But the problem is, going into this main event, I was so confident that Jamahal Hill was going to come out with a W that I just put it all on him. I put it all on Jamahal Hill. All the money that I had won, all the money that I had in my account at that point was on Jamahal Hill. And we come out losing, like usual. 8 weeks in a row losing, so that's cool. Jamahal Hill must have known he was the Finn's hammer lock. He must have known he was my weekly underdog pick. I picked Rafael Fiziev. I picked Muhammad Usman. I could have made them the hammer lock, but no, I choose the guy that gets utterly dominated, 50-45, not even close. So shout out to Jamahal Hill. What we learned from here is Jamahal Hill is utterly washed. Khalil Rountree deserves a top 5 opponent, probably Jiri Prochaska. That would be fireworks. And then ultimately, my takeaways from UFC Baku is Jamahal Hill's washed. Jamahal Hill is washed. I might be salty that I lost piles on him. I might be salty that, he lost my Finn's hammer lock. But he's washed. He's done. Just get him out of the sport, please. He's 36 years old. He's washed. He's done. Maybe he can fight an up-and-coming light heavyweight, but he's done. Oralbai is him. Shout out to Miktabek Oralbai, making sure that the UFC stays on top. We're not going to lose to a rising competitor, someone that was in Bellator. That's not going to happen. Curtis Blades will most likely get brutally KO'd in his next fight. Kuniev had multiple opportunities to land the KO below, but just didn't press forward. So if you give Blades like a Shamil Gaziev, he's probably getting knocked out. If you give him like a Waldo Cortez Acosta, he's probably getting knocked out. So shout out to Curtis Blades. Nazim Sadikov is much must-watch television. Nazim Sadikov with the fight of the night, most likely. Nazim Sadikov with the fight of the year, most likely. Up until this point, for sure, fight of the year. So shout out to Nazim. Also, Oban Alien got fraud checked. Minus 500 favorite. Loses. 30-27. It's not often that the minus 500 loses 30-27. Like, if the minus 500 loses, it's usually because they got flash knocked out or they got into a takedown and got submitted. But no, getting 30-27 as a minus 500, that's pretty nuts. The last time that happened was Peyton Talbot getting 30-27 by Raoni Barcelos. So you're in Peyton Talbot territory, Oban Elliott. So that's not the best place to be.